Hello, 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 beautiful people. I hope you have your baby oil ready.
You're just jumping right into it, huh?
Time. And we have Enty lawyer with us because I have so many questions for you, Enty. Hello, how are you, beautiful people? Hello, Enty. Welcome back to Be Our Sandwich Podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So, Enty, I mean, I've been dying to ask you. There's a blind item that you put out. It's driving people insane. More insane in the Mexican community about Meghan Markle dropping the lawsuit because her GYN, or whatever the hell you call it, would have been deposed. Is that about Meghan Markle, first of all, just to clarify?
Yeah, it is. But and I don't know exactly how far they could have gone in the deposition with the OBGYN. So but it wasn't much of a legal thing anyway. So but the more interesting one is that I have a blind that's gonna go off at 11:45 my time today. So everybody should take a look at that one.
Ooh,
About somebody
okay.
that she recently had lunch with.
Oh dear. Oh dear. She is
About
hot.
somebody you recently had lunch with?
No, that Megan had lunch with.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I think it will raise some eyebrows to say the least. So 11:45.
If it is with Trevor Engelson, I'll
Nope,
be
not with
very
Trevor. Not with Trevor.
Jessica.
No,
You can't give a clue or anything.
it's a woman who runs an agency.
Okay. Gotcha.
Oprah, who's a madam?
No.
She runs an agency. Sorry about this.
Ooh, okay, I'm setting a timer right now for 11:45 your time to get
Okay,
that.
yeah. What time is it over there right now?
It's 10 o'clock.
Oh, fuck. I have to wait about
Oh my
2 hours, almost an hour and a half. Molly, you and I are in the same time frame. So
I don't think we do.
I think you're 2 hours behind now. But
I don't.
okay, we have to, Molly, ask questions to Enty. We have to put your
Okay.
question.
Want me to ask him something? Let's talk about Diddy's new dream team that he's putting together. Let's talk
Ooh.
about that because I think that Diddy's going to get rid of this Mark Agnifilo guy, but he had a spiritual healer come and visit him in prison allegedly, and now he's put together this so-called dream team with what are their names? With Alexandra Shapiro and what's the other guy? Anthony Rico or something like that. But do you have any information on that, Enty? You know more anything about it?
Well, I mean, it's just basically this first part is to because it's an appeal, right? Because they're appealing the whole bail conditions and everything. And appeals are it's a different kind of beast. And no matter how good an attorney is, just in court and stuff or trial court, appeals are just, they have to be done differently. There's different ways you argue. It's definitely more of a written argument rather than an oral argument. And you have to really know your case law really, really well. And he doesn't. Sean Combs should just fire the other guy who's just basically making a mess of everything. And I can't imagine that guy examining or cross-examining anybody, and he's terrible in front of the press. But the appeals are just something that you need to find somebody who's really good at appeals, and that's what he's hoping for is that this this new team that he's hired to appeal his lack of being able to get bail will get him bail.
Well, they say that Alexandra Shapiro, which I should clarify, has no relation to Robert Shapiro. She is an appellate lawyer, and this Anthony Rico is a trial lawyer. So he's setting himself up to, I don't know, take this on basically, right?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, one's an appellate lawyer, and it's just, it's hard to even quantify because everybody thinks that lawyers do all the same kind of things, and that's not true. There's people that, make their entire living just arguing in front of the Supreme Court. And that's what they do. It's a very specific, narrowly tailored kind of practice of law. It's very lucrative, but it just, Like I would have no idea. I know how to file a notice of appeal, and
Mhm.
I imagine that I could, do an appeal, but I would tell somebody, no, you need to get somebody else to do it. It's a different kind of practicing of law, and so that's what he's done. I don't think it's going to do any good, but he needs to at least. He wasn't ever going to get it with his other attorney.
Mhm. Yeah, that other guy was just running his mouth and just doing like shows after shows, just giving interviews and just making a mess of everything. Why would I don't understand, like why does a lawyer like that like go and put themselves in front of a TV screen and do interviews like that? Like, do they just want press for themselves?
Yeah, I mean, look at what happened yesterday with the Busby guy, right?
Yeah,
Okay. So he hasn't filed a lawsuit, has he? No.
no.
Last Thursday, he went on social media and said, "Oh, we're gonna have a press conference." So, why did he do that? A couple of reasons. I feel like a lot of attorneys, especially ones that are, I don't want to say like personal injury trial, this kind of thing, they love attention, and that's how they get clients. And he's hoping, besides the big buzz or whatever, he's hoping not only that he gets more people who were maybe victimized by Sean Combs and others to come forward, and so he can represent them, but also so somebody goes, oh, you know what, I had this thing happen, and this Tony Busby guy, he seems like the kind of guy I need to go see. It's the same thing with Sean Combs' attorney. And we've seen it more recently. If everybody maybe didn't pay attention to that, but like Justin Timberlake's lawyer, when Justin Timberlake got arrested, this lawyer went and he made all kinds of statements. He was just hogging the spotlight. There was a press release that had his name in it 4 times and Justin's only once. And he got scolded by the judge for, going in front of the cameras so much. And he was basically Justin Timberlake's worst enemy and supposed to be his lawyer. Sometimes these lawyers they never have had a camera in front of them, and they don't know what to do, and they just want to take advantage of the opportunity and just say their name over and over and over again, hoping that they get new clients. Yeah. And that's why there's so many personal injury billboards and stuff like that, is because they need to attract clients just over and over and over and over again. And so that's what they do. And I'm assuming that Tony Busby, in addition to finding more victims, wants more business for himself, and the same for Sean Combs' lawyer.
So I kind of hate to say this, but I feel like this is all just like a money grab for the lawyers too, right? Like, make as much money as you can off of the pain of these victims. Because I heard that Tony Busby charges $2,500 per hour.
Yeah, I mean, how is Tony going to make his money? On this, the only way he's going to make his money is he's going to take a third or 40% of whatever he can get from Sean Combs. Now, the problem that he faces is that there's about 100 other lawsuits ahead of him in line. And unless he can somehow get to the front of the line, get some kind of judgment prior to everybody else getting one, he's going to have to wait his turn. And by the time his turn comes around, Sean Combs is going to be broke. And so, okay, if Sean Combs is broke, then where's Tony Busby going to get his money from? He's going to get it from whatever clients he can get, because of the fact that he is going to be front and center. It's the same with like Gloria Allred. This is why, she's always front and center and everything. And she ends up getting people that come to her for high profile cases, and she gets others, but she goes in front of the camera for the high profile ones. She doesn't go in front of the camera for, Joe Blow sexually assaulting Jane Doe. She goes in front of the cameras for, somebody who's extremely high profile, gets her name out there, gets a press conference, and then other people go hire her and pay her, her normal fee.
Okay. Just for people asking, I've been posting Enty's YouTube channel. You can see it on the screen. Also his X, please go follow him on X, and also Crazy Days and Nights, and of course Patreon. But I've been, while you've been talking, your channel has been on, and thank you much for the super chat. So please go watch, because I've been glued to your channel. I mean, I'm always watching
Paula,
this.
Actually, my super amazing mods have been throwing all his links in the comment section below. Yeah, so they're on top of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Cool, guys. Thank you.
Thanks,
And
Mom.
Enty, I have to say, you must feel so good how everything you talked about, because I know you've been talking about, I think pretty much since you started, right? Am I wrong? You've been talking about this for quite some time. And
Yeah.
for so many years, don't you feel validated and angry a little bit that nobody really listened or did anything about this? So many victims could have been avoided.
Yeah, I mean, I have been talking about it a long time, but honestly, like people like Wendy Williams were talking about it long before. I mean, she warned us back in 1997 or something like that, 1999, and earlier than that, and then got fired for it because Sean Combs pressured the place that she was, at. I think that Sean Combs has been an open secret, and honestly, all of these people that have been exposed over the last 10 years, they've all been an open secret. It's just that nobody does it because they all need it. It's the reason that they fired Wendy Williams is because the radio station Hot 97 decided that they needed Sean Combs's talent, the people that he could bring in the music and stuff more than they needed her. And they were willing to just throw Wendy under the bus. And it's the same thing with, like, say, Harvey Weinstein, if we want to go back to that. If, people said, oh, we know about it, but, we want to have a, we want to get our movie made. We want to be up for an Oscar. We can't get financing anywhere. So we'll just ignore what Harvey does to everybody. Same with Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, we'll just ignore all of that because he brings a bunch of political money and stuff, and he can raise money for others, and he does this and he does that. So we'll just forget about the fact that he's sleeping with 14 and 15-year-olds. It's the same with Nexium. Oh, he knows a lot of people and stuff, and we know what's going on, but we're just going to ignore it. It's only, there's always, like I said, some kind of tipping point. There's so many people that I've talked about that still have never been exposed. There's David Geffen, and I mean, look at this Oprah picture that you got up on the screen or whatever. The Iceman, who they had actually started production on a movie and had to stop after a week because they found out about all this stuff, and it's all come to light because of a Dutch newspaper. The Amsterdam mayor had to get a restraining order against this guy, and here's Oprah, loving on him, and it just, she seems to love on a lot of really, really bad people.
Mm-hmm. Click on that, Paula.
Oh, what, ma'am?
On his tweet, because then scroll down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because Oprah has a type, right there. Remember, with John of God and Harvey Weinstein?
She sure does. That woman certainly has a very specific type, which is actually a colorblind type, if you think about it. I mean, this woman goes through all nationalities, and she manages to find the scum of the earth, no matter the nationality.
Where's
You could put a picture of David Geffen with her too,
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, Enty, how 2 questions. How worried should people be? Because from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, Diddy wants to testify. Do you think that's a threat to people, or how worried are people with that? And also with the new lawsuit with 120 people suing and the 9-year-old kids and stuff like that. How powerful people do you think how are they reacting? Are they panicking? What do you think is happening?
Okay, number one, Sean Combs is never going to testify. Okay, I know his attorney said that, but Sean Combs is never going to testify. Not in a million years. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I'm not sure it'll go to trial. I think that he'll probably plead guilty to something that gets him out of jail. I think that these lawsuits, remember, there's so many of these lawsuits. Now, he does have a great deal of money. And, most of the time people seem to, run out of money. They're bankrupt and things like that. But, most of the Epstein victims all got paid. It took a long time for his money to run out. So, I mean, a lot of the victims got paid. And I think that with Sean Combs, he's got a lot of money. So I think that he can afford to settle most of these lawsuits. This one with 120 people, here's the thing, is that Busby had half of them, and I think the other half came from a lawyer in California. And the other thing that, he talked about briefly during the press conference is that, remember, he's in Texas. but he can't file any of these in Texas because the statute of limitations is long gone. He said some of these go back to the mid 90s or early 90s. So his only hope is to file them in California or New York, which have basically allowed a look back window. So basically, if there's some kind of gender motivated violence, you can do that in New York. In California, we have a look back window that can revive certain claims of sexual abuse that involve a cover up by a corporate entity. So then you have to prove that the corporate entity, Bad Boys or something, or some one of Sean Combs's corporations, is the one that covered up the thing. There are so many hurdles that this guy is going to have to go through. And all of these victims need to be from or have it happened in California or New York. I know that he says he has 120 of them. Were they all from New York? And then if you're using the California one, are you sure that, you're going to have to prove that each one of these in California was covered up by Bad Boys or some corporate entity? That's the only way that's going to work. The New York one is much more open wide. That's why when you've seen most of these Sean Combs cases, they've all been filed in New York, because there is this whole, look back window that's much more, wide open for that type of thing. And so I really think that each one of the California ones is going to be very, very tough. So they're going to have to do them in New York. He's not licensed in New York. So he's going to have to find a New York attorney to work with, and he'll go in what's called pro hoc vice, which means he'll be allowed for that purpose of that one case to be admitted for the case, but he'll still have to have a New York attorney. I think that it's been a lot of flash, and he says that he's going to file something. He said that he's going to have a lot of big names that are in this. Okay, that's good, because we haven't seen a whole lot of other big names. We've been promised a lot of big names, right? The only person that's actually dropped names is Little Rod. We had the other attorney for the victim who said, oh, there's this high profile person in this porn tape, and they weren't looking at the camera, so I don't think that they were aware of it. And the language that she used was very vague, extremely vague, to the point where we think by her language that she's saying it was in Sean Combs's house. Okay. But in the rest of her, words, it's very unclear whether it's Sean Combs and another person in this video, or if it's a high profile person and another person in the video, or if it's Sean Combs and a high profile person in the video. So there's a lot of ambiguity in all of these. Busby's promised names, but what he did for his big reveal was to talk about how young some of them were, 9 years old, 14 years old, 15 years old, 16 years old. But he just said, oh, there's a lot of other names. Okay. He can get away with that for right now, but at some point people are going to want to see these other names.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, well, Jaguar Wright was spilling some names the other day when she was on, I forget whose platform she was on, but she was throwing names out like crazy.
She throws out names. But she also avoids throwing out any kind of names that involve Jay-Z for the most part. So I don't know. I've asked her to come on my podcast. So, we'll see if she comes on and stuff, because I do have a lot of questions. I think that Jaguar, as I said, I think on here a couple of weeks ago, I think that 85% of what she says is correct. I think that it's from her experiences, it's what she believes to be correct, and then there's some which is just ridiculous. Nobody's paying $500 million for any kind of sex tape. So, but I really appreciate everything that she brings to the table and keeps people talking about stuff. And she did drop names. And honestly, there are a lot of names to be dropped. And, I encourage everybody, if you have not read the Little Rod lawsuit, you should go read it, because he does drop names. He also writes blind items in it and gives the answers down at the bottom. So it's obvious that whoever wrote it for Little Rod reads my website, because they use a lot of the same descriptors for the people, but you can figure out who these names are. And he actually drops names of people who participated, not people who just took photos with Sean Combs, not people just glad handing Sean Combs, but people that were actually at these parties and involved in these freak-offs and what they were doing in the freak-offs. And it's under oath. Jaguar Wright's not under oath.
But no one's tried to sue her or anything. She was dropping names like Obama's name into it the other day.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is Obama's not gonna sue. That's just like it goes the same on both sides. But I mean, you could drop Trump's name. Like, you could say this. You could say that Obama, molested a little kid, or Trump molested a little kid. Neither one of them is going to sue. Okay, so that's just kind of the thing. It's just you kind of have to like roll with those punches. And if you know that going into it, then you can say those kind of things and not worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think at all that the DA is ever going to really release names? Are they interviewing famous people at all? Is J-Lo being interviewed? Is Oprah being interviewed? Is Ashton Kutcher being interviewed? Or is this just BS? I
think that the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, there's going to be further indictments. Okay, I've said that he wanted to get those indictments before he could potentially lose the ability, like be thrown out of office, right? Because it's a political appointee, and come January 20th or whatever, guy could be out of a job. So, and the other thing is, during that lame duck kind of thing between election day and inauguration day, it's kind of bad form or whatever to really try and make a splash. So he really had to do it then. And, because he wanted the attention and all of that kind of stuff, because maybe then he wouldn't get the credit. If somebody else did it in January, then he might not get the credit for it, and he wanted to have the credit for it. But we are going to see some other indictments over the next few weeks. I think, of course, that he's interviewing people that can substantiate what was going on. But you have to look at what the criminal indictment is about. It's about sex trafficking. It's about laundering money. It's things like that. So he is going to talk to people who were engaged in this sex trafficking, the people that were arranging for these women to cross state lines, the people that were paying these women to cross state lines and have sex. Okay. There is not really anything in there about, the actual freak off party kind of things. It's, yes, we had the baby oil, but it was a clickbait, right? We're still talking about it. Paula, you started this whole thing off with get your baby oil ready. So that was just a clickbait headline to get everybody involved. I think there's going to be some very big names that go down. My name that I want to see go down the most in this is probably going to be Lou Taylor or Robin Greenhill from TriStar. They were the ones who, basically were awful to Britney Spears. They're in bed with the Kardashians. They're in bed with so many other people. They're the ones who tried to get Lindsay Lohan's mom to agree to put Lindsay Lohan in a conservatorship. They like to control people. And the fact that Little Rod mentioned Robin Greenhill's name in his lawsuit, saying that she is the one who arranged to pay for these women, would lead me to believe that if Little Rod is being truthful, that Robin Greenhill will be indicted for some kind of trafficking.
Oh my God. This thing, what about 50 Cent? I heard that he's doing this documentary or whatever you want to call it about Diddy, but people are saying that he's not going to go hard on him because he has a lot of skeletons himself.
I mean, 50 Cent has a lot of skeletons. Okay. I mean, a lot of skeletons. He's been accused of sexual assault. He's been, one of his exes, the mother of one of his children, Daphne Joy, has been named in like the Little Rod lawsuit. Okay. And Daphne Joy has accused 50 Cent of sexually assaulting her and stuff like that. He does not have a relationship with that child because of it. He has a relationship with his other kids. But yes, he's been accused of. Then there was one time one of the mothers of his children was holding the child in a bathroom, and he knocked down a door, kicked down the door or whatever, while she was holding the child, and she had to escape or whatever. So he's got his own issues. It's nice to see him, going after Sean Combs. He said that all the, the proceeds would go to sexual assault victims and domestic violence victims. But yeah, 50 Cent has his own issues too. And I don't think that he really, really wants the camera focused on him. Now, remember earlier I said, oh, you could say this about Obama, you could say this about Trump, and they're not going to sue. 50 Cent will sue the crap out of you. Okay. So you kind of know, so you don't necessarily see like Jaguar Wright saying things about 50 Cent or whatever, because 50 Cent will go after you. Cardi B will go after you. There are certain people that are extremely litigious that they will go after you no matter what. And so you better have your facts straight when you are talking about 50 Cent. You better have your facts straight when you're talking about Cardi B. You need to have your facts straight when it comes to certain people. And then there's certain people that you can say whatever you want about them, and they're not going to go after you.
But so do you think it's going to be truthful in that documentary? The one thing I don't understand, because you said that, for example, some people, when they caught this guy with Oprah, that the one that we were showing in the page there, the guy that suddenly got pulled or stopped, they said that people suddenly found out. Is it that people suddenly found out, or it became public?
That's a good question. Everybody kind of knew about it, but it took the beginning. Okay, like I said, there needs to be a tipping point, and so they started filming a movie about the guy. And everybody, the producers were going around getting releases and everything. And this was going to be a big deal. This was going to be this was not like some independent movie. This was a big deal kind of movie with big time financing. And they started going to get like releases and things like that. And everybody's like, wait, you're making a movie about this horror show of a guy? And it got so bad that they had to stop doing the movie. But it was because they made the movie that everything pushed it over the edge. If not for that, people just would have said, oh, whatever. And, the family lived with it and dealt with it. But yeah, Oprah knew 100% about this guy and everything. Because it's the same with, the God guy and Harvey. She knows about it. David Geffen, she knows about it. But it's just, that's what you do. I think that I know everybody wants Oprah to go down or whatever in the Sean Combs thing. It's not going to happen. And you need to come to grips with that. There is no relationship with there. Who's more likely to go down? And I know nobody wants to hear this, but the person that's more likely to go down would be Elon Musk, because he and Sean Combs are business partners. Sean Combs gave him a ton of money so he could buy X. You don't see Elon Musk writing anything about Sean Combs. Okay.
Wait a minute. Back up the truck. Diddy gave Elon a lot of money to buy X.
Yeah, it's public knowledge. There was a list of investors that was released, I don't know, before Sean Combs was arrested. And it's listed like Saudi Arabia, whatever their fund is called, and a bunch of other people. But there's Sean Combs right there. In the list of the 100 investors, you got Jack, the old owner of it and stuff. But yeah, there's a list of 100 investors. It's not some, made up list. There's Sean Combs right on there, which is why Elon's not talking about Sean Combs. And because, so when you talk about Oprah or David Geffen, as much as I think that they're awful people and I'd love to see them go down, you got to think, okay, well, how is that involved in the sex trafficking that Sean Combs's people did? How is that involved in the money laundering that Sean Combs did? And then, money laundering. Okay, so where did this, the ill-gotten gains of Sean Combs or whatever? Oh, he contributed to X, the purchase of it or something like that. That's why I said, I don't think anything's going to happen to Elon at all. And I don't think that there's any illegal money that Sean Combs, earned that went to the purchase of it. But it's more, there's more of a link there than there is to get Geffen or Oprah or anything like that. I do think we're going to see a lot of actors. I think here's where you're going to see names, is that even though Sean Combs isn't going to testify, you're going to see other things like, I am a sex worker and I had sex with Cuba Gooding Jr. Oh, how did you get paid for that? Well, Cuba handed me money, or Sean Combs. Oh, Cuba handed you money. And in that situation, then you're going to get, you're going to see the big names and stuff, and you're going to find out, okay, well, where was this money? How is it? It's very nitty gritty behind the scenes kind of stuff. The big names are going to be, kind of adjacent to all of this.
That's and talking about big names, are there any? I saw a clip doing the rounds about Jay were right, but I'm not sure whether it's doctored or whether it's real. Because nowadays, I don't know what the hell's going on with these people. Where she's talking about this weirdo that she's talking about the big names, right? And she includes royalty, like this weirdo uncle of Prince Harry, and then she talks about Prince Harry and Meghan being in the freak offs. Is there any truth to that?
No, none. I mean, I know that Prince Harry is mentioned in the Little Rod lawsuit, but it's not as anything. He's just mentioning him. It has no relation to anything. Do I think that Meghan was involved in, okay, not Sean Combs freak off parties, but other freak off parties when she was, working her way up? Probably. Do I think that she did, yachting and stuff? Yeah. But do I think that she was at a Sean Combs freak off party with Prince Harry? No. But again, Jaguar can say that because, Meghan and Harry aren't going to sue her for that. But there's no sex tape with Sean Combs, Meghan Markle, and Prince Harry. There's literally nothing, because I would have heard about it a million times. I just no, it's not real. And the problem is that when you get something like that and people start talking like that, then you're going like, okay, look, you got to get away from that, and you have to. There's some really solid stuff that we can go after. Sean Combs for. There's a bunch of stuff we can go after Meghan and Harry for. But when people start just like throwing out that stuff, it's ridiculous. It's kind of like with the Jeffrey Epstein flight logs, and all of a sudden you see like Lady Gaga's name on there. Lady Gaga wasn't even famous at the time when those flight logs or whatever. She wasn't. It wouldn't have even said Lady Gaga. They came up with all these names or whatever, but it wasn't real. And then everybody, starts circulating that kind of stuff. And so all I hear, is just, I did my Q&A last month, and I think 3 of the questions were, hey, were Harry and Meghan in a freak off or whatever, because it just gets spread around and spread around and spread around. And sometimes you just kind of got to use common sense and say, well, no.
Mm-hmm. But what about, she also mentioned Prince Andrew being at the Diddy parties. Now we've seen photos of, I think I posted photos of Eugenie and Sarah Ferguson on a Diddy yacht party, but that could mean anything, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would find that to be much more likely. We know that, Eugenie and Beatrice were passed around to, Epstein. And so I think that would be much more likely. I think that Sarah Ferguson would definitely offer up her kids to Sean Combs for some money. So I would be much more likely if you told me that there was some sex tape featuring Eugenie or Beatrice with Sean Combs. I'd be, all right, well, I could see how that could happen. I could see the way I could fit those, pieces into the puzzle. If you told me, oh, Meghan Markle and Harvey have a sex tape, I go, I don't think that's true. But you know what? I could see possibly how that could work. Oh, Meghan and Ron Burkle. I don't think there is, but I could see how that could work. But Meghan and Harry with Sean Combs at a freak off, I go, that just didn't happen.
Yeah, that sounds too far-fetched in my opinion. It sounds like it's made up. There's a question here from the audience that I wanted to ask, because it's a really good one. So the Queen's Guard wants to know, Enty, do you think they were all re-strategizing the Combs case at Tyler's quote unquote birthday party?
Okay, now that's a scene. Okay, now these are good questions, right? Because Tyler, okay, now this is where you're not going to get me at a freak off with Meghan and Harry, but you can get me to this. You can get me because Tyler, his whole thing is in Atlanta. And we already know about Sean Combs and it's his Atlanta home. And then we go to the one lawyer for the victim who's talking about a high profile person, right? Who's in this sex tape. Okay. Mm-hmm. And when I think high profile, I think Atlanta, I think sex tape, I think, okay, this is not, a good person. Then I start thinking about Tyler Perry. And we start thinking about, Tyler Perry it was probably not him that the person was talking about, but Tyler Perry has had a history of a lot of buzz about, things that have gone on with him in Atlanta with the people that he hires in this studio, all of this kind of stuff. He tends to hire underemployed people, even homeless people that tend to make very good victims. And that's something that, so when I think of something like that, I go, okay, I could see Tyler Perry and Sean Combs being involved in some kind of joint freak off party. And then you can make that leap over to, oh, well, you know, Meghan and Harry, were you guys talking about it at Tyler Perry's birthday party when you should have been celebrating Harry's 40th birthday party, but you were too thirsty and you wanted access to a jet. So you threw your husband under the birthday bus and said, you don't get to celebrate a birthday. And so, yes, I could see that connection. I could definitely see Tyler Perry kind of brought into this because of the Atlanta connection, because there's another high profile person in this. Remember, they said higher profile than Sean Combs, I think is the language that the attorney used. And so I'm like, okay, well, who's higher profile than Sean Combs that could be in a sex tape like that? Because, you know, we're talking Sean Combs here, but somebody like a Tyler Perry, okay, I could see that. And if Tyler Perry comes in, like, isn't even named in this investigation, whether or not he's a person of interest or anything, but if his name gets dropped in there a few times, then all of a sudden, oh, that association with Meghan, that's just going to really destroy the brand, right? Everybody, it's just going to absolutely torch it. And also, don't forget, at that birthday party was Brian Robbins. We've talked about this before, the enabler of Dan Schneider, his best friend going back forever. So there were some bad people at that party. And it, like I said, when we talk about connections, I can make that connection. I would believe if you told me that Tyler Perry was in that sex tape, either with Sean Combs or with another person, that I would go, okay, I can buy that.
Well, Tyler said a while ago during an interview that he did like a long time ago that he was homeless at one point in his life and he had to do certain things that he doesn't want to talk about to get where he is.
I don't understand why these people never say, like, I worked at a McDonald's. I mean, why, instead of to do really dirty stuff, why can't they get regular jobs? I just think they want to fast track everything and then they regret the price they have to pay. So, and I wanted to ask you, since you're talking about Tyler Perry, a lot of people are asking about Harry and Tyler Perry and Diddy and the friendships. I don't think he was at a freak off or something like that, but they say that they're trying to distance themselves. If that is the case, do you think that Meghan Markle and Harry are going to disown Tyler Perry, or they're going to issue a statement in that regards?
Okay, so remember when Tyler was maybe being accused by a guy of being, you know, some really bad behavior? And I said I didn't think it was Tyler. I said it was somebody else. I'm sorry?
Whatever do you mean by bad behavior? I'm just kidding.
Well, no, I mean, there was somebody that didn't name a name and had worked with Tyler Perry and accused them of sexual assault. And so at that point in time, you know, Harry and Meghan basically disappeared from anything and all related to Tyler Perry. Like, they didn't want to be caught up in it. I mean, this is at a time when, you know, they were using his jet and stuff and everything. And all of a sudden it was just like crickets. And then everything kind of went away. The guy said, no, it's not Tyler Perry that I'm talking about. It's somebody else. And
yeah, it's true. Whatever happened to that guy? We never heard back from him again.
He was paid off. off.
Enty, you and I did a live about it. I remember that.
Okay, that's what it was. I knew we had talked. I knew, you know, somebody had.
Yeah, of course.
So if you go back, I went and looked, but yeah. So for the investors for X, Sean Combs invested through his LLC, Sean Combs Capital, and I mean, basically, there's not that many. I mean, investors. There's a total of like 80 or something like that. So, I mean, it's pretty interesting, and it's just like, okay. But yeah, he contributed. Most of them are, see, the thing is that most of them are like fidelity, like 100 different fidelity things, right? Stuff like that. And then there's very few individual people or small companies. And, you know, I've never really gone to look at, you know, through them or whatever, but Sean Combs' name is right at the top.
Talking about fidelity, what do you make of those $4 million missing on Archewell Foundation's thing for 2023? Because it's charitable, is Fidelity charitable? Now that you're mentioning that, now that you brought it, what do you make of that?
They haven't had to file the taxes for it yet. See, that's the thing. That's what everybody look. I'm the first person that will jump on anything, right? I mean, I will, but when you're doing things and you're taking down people, you need to make sure of everything. Can you get away with saying a lot more about Harry and Meghan? They've become less litigious than they were at the beginning of their marriage. But at the same time, you have to go, okay, well, the tax returns for charities aren't due. Like that one's not due. They don't have to show the income yet because what everybody's referring to.
No. I have to push back on that one. They're due. They were supposed to hand it over in April this year. Because the charity, the way it works is from January 1st till January 31st, and then they have until April. And they had requested an extension, which was granted until May 15th, 2024. They had requested an extension from the year 2021 because that's how they work. It's the whole year, not like from June till July or whatever. So they were supposed to have handed that in April. But I don't know if they requested an extension, but the other charities have already filed their things. This is why we know about it. So they should have filed their 2022, 2023 tax return, and they haven't.
Okay. The last one that they filed, so they haven't filed the one. So you can't say that it's missing because they haven't filed the tax return. Do you see what I'm saying? You could say, oh my gosh, they should have filed this tax return and it's late. But you can't say that there's millions of dollars missing because they haven't filed the tax return yet.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you haven't filed it, then you can't say where's the missing money. Well, they haven't filed it yet. Should they get penalized for not filing it on time? Yeah. Should they? I mean, but we already know that they suck at paperwork. Look at the trademark stuff or whatever. So it's probably Meghan trying to scratch out a thing. But here's the thing: is so yes, if they file this tax return and there's not the money on there, then we should hammer them and go, where the heck is all of this money? But you know what? Until they file it, you can't say that the money's missing.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you this because I was very shocked about who owns Fidelity Charitable, that is owned by Fidelity Investment, which is BlackRock and the Johnson family, and I think it's Schwab, this guy named Schwab. Why are they getting $6 million? But they're basically a third party. So for example, if I want to donate money to them, I don't do it directly, but I do it through this fund, and they get a cut, but they keep me as a donor. They can guarantee my anonymity. Why? Who do you think is giving them $6 million? And why not donate it to them directly and use Fidelity instead?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know the reasons for all of that stuff. I do question anybody who gives them money, because they have shown no propensity at all for giving money to where it should go. When you go to Colombia and you give some people some drums, to me, okay, why even have a charity in the first place? The places that they have given money to are just tiny little bits, and it's stupid stuff that they give money to. And, they could make a difference. Harry's in Africa, and I think about like Dikembe Mutombo, who recently died. This guy, this former NBA player, basically devoted his life after he retired from the NBA. He would harass and bug people to death to get money. And then what would he do? He'd go back to the Democratic Republic of Congo, where he's from. He'd go to other African countries. The dude opened a gazillion hospitals, provided health care in these Netherland regions kind of things where nobody ever had medical care or doctors or whatever. He would pay the salary for the doctors. He would pay all the bills for all of these hospitals. And he did this all over the place. So, and he never had, tens of millions of dollars or the ability necessarily to raise tens of millions of dollars, but somehow he just hustled and hustled and hustled to do it. And Harry and Meghan, let's say they're sitting on $8 or $9 million. What are they doing with it? They could do so much, and they do absolutely nothing. It's like they want to raise money just to say that they're raising money. And every once in a while, we'll give a little gift so that way we can say, yes, we gave to these people. And so that's my big thing with Harry and Meghan. They have this charity and they don't do jack with it. They don't help people with it. They give ridiculous, amounts to stupid charities. And they need to actually, Harry, while you're in Africa or whatever, do something. Actually do something rather than just do photo ops, rather than giving speeches that you don't even believe a word you're saying of, and that you're so hypocritical. I could go on and on and on about how awful they are and what good they could do with the money that they've raised, because people do give them money and they suck at it.
Mm-hmm.
And
they're laundering it through their accounts, Paula.
But that's what they're doing. Yeah, go for it, Molly.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying that is what they're doing. I mean, because I don't understand. Archewell is a public charity, so why would somebody need to go through a third party to donate to an already existing public charity? It makes no sense unless these people are doing something very, like I said in my video yesterday, it's money laundering or a mistake. Talking about mistakes.
Wait, hold on one second. So look, it's kind of like if you go look at the investors for X. Let's just use that as an example.
Okay.
Most of them are even like Elon, because Elon gave money to himself to buy it, but it came from the Elon Musk Revocable Trust. Okay. So, and then there's other things. So like Sean Combs, it wasn't Sean Combs, it was Sean Combs's company. And the thing is that most people in Hollywood, especially, they get paid through a company. All right. Everybody sets up an LLC for themselves. Sometimes they set it up for each individual movie. Sometimes it's just whatever. If Tom Cruise buys a house, Tom Cruise doesn't buy the house. Tom Cruise LLC buys the house. So whatever you choose to name it. So it could be that it's just somebody who's using one of these corporations or whatever. And it's just a corporation that's basically owned by a person. And then that corporation's giving them money. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's something shady. It could. But it doesn't necessarily mean that there's something shady, because these LLCs, they also want tax deductions. So the LLC or this third party or whatever gives the money, and then they're entitled to, the tax deduction.
Part of me
just right. Like Ginger's right. Tax fraud and 501 and LLC has been going on for a long time. Exactly. I mean, there's some that is legal. There's some that it's not. But yes, so it could be fine. It might not be fine. But everybody, if you go on every LLC, they're always like, oh, if you take somebody, this is always cracks me up when they go, oh, this is how you can get rich. And here's what you do. You put everything in your business, and then you take somebody out to dinner. You take 30 people out to dinner, and you talk about business for like 15 minutes, and then you can write off the whole $45,000 dinner. Okay. That's going to get you in jail. All right. But that's what I guarantee you, if you ever watch one of those videos, that's what they say. Oh, I put everything in my LLC so I can just write it all off. And then, they don't have to pay any taxes. And yeah, that's how you go to jail.
And just to close it off, because we have to talk about Harry's new strategy without Meghan and his girlfriend about this, the surfer. But what do you make of this new strategy? They said that they're professionally divorced, because Harry's living la vida loca, flying everywhere without Meghan. What do you make of that?
Molly, you go on this one.
Oh, geez. Well, basically, I think that Harry might be growing a pair of balls back, or maybe he's showing Meghan that, hey, I'm the royal and I still have clout and I can still get attention. I feel like Meghan has just embarrassed him so much and has brought him down into the gutter so much that maybe he's slowly waking up to the fraud that she fed him.
But I'm surprised. I'm surprised because she usually is not a backseat kind of person, Enty. I'm surprised that she has allowed him this this freedom without her doing a pop walk at a parking lot looking distressed, or having lunch with some D-list high power friend of hers. I mean, why is she so quiet and hasn't been leaking anything like that?
If she goes, okay, let's say she did one of her famous pap walks, right? Let's just say she was in a parking lot, or she's doing her fake hiking or whatever. Okay, so what is the story going to be, right? They're going to have the photo of Meghan, and they'll say, oh, Meghan out walking with so-and-so. And then the whole story is going to be Meghan emerges after, a Hollywood reporter calls her a bully. You know,
Mhm.
so every story is just going to, you know, reference that because there hasn't been any intervening news. So Harry, even with the Harry articles or whatever, they generally mention, oh, Harry's traveling solo shortly after Meghan was called a bully. You know, so I mean, they all kind of throw that in there, but it would be way, way more if it was just Meghan in some kind of photo or whatever. I think that she is trying to lay low. I think that this blind that I have at 11:45 is going to open a lot of eyes to maybe maybe her strategy for making a comeback. So so that's just like if not even an hour from now. So I think that that's going to be maybe her path forward. I'm sure that she's talking about what can I do? The Us Weekly puff piece. Here's the thing. It was an Us Weekly, okay? Us Weekly is not the place you go to for puff pieces. And
Mhm.
I even said before the Us Weekly piece came out, I think I said it like 3 or 4 days before, that People Magazine turned her down. And then 3 or 4 days later, it was Us that posted it. They said they didn't want any part of the puffery, which is so unusual for knee pads because they are People Magazine just does puff piece after puff piece, and they have been a mouthpiece for Meghan in the past. But even they didn't want to be a part of that because it was such a setup job. It was such an obvious setup job, and they didn't want anything to do with it. And then the reason became clear after the Us Weekly one when the Daily Beast had a whole bunch of new people that said how awful she was. And I
Oh,
think that I think that People Magazine knew about that, which is why they said, you know, we're really willing to get down on our knees for a lot, but for this one, we're going to take a pass. And they did take the pass, but Us Weekly's like, yeah, whatever. You know, we'll take whatever we can get at this point for clicks. So they were happy to do it. So they need some kind of strategy. And Harry, you know, what is it? 10 events in 12 days or something like that.
yeah.
That's quite the schedule. And in a bunch of different time zones and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And, you know, getting to live his best life, a little drinking, a little smoking, a little pot, and not having to deal with Meghan. It could be like Molly said, that he's getting his balls back. He found them where they had disappeared, or maybe she gave them back to him. You know, it's a lot of different possibilities. I think that he's maybe looking for a purpose. Maybe he's tired of sitting in the house day in, day out because and just listening to her and listening to her and listening to her. And he just finally said, I gotta go.
Hmm.
I've heard this. I don't know, you, Molly and Enty, tell me what you think. I heard this thing that some people are saying that what's happening right now is that we're watching Harry win back the public, and by extension, then Meghan benefits. You know, that's a way to be like a royal comeback because he's doing all of his royal duties. So what they're doing is they're trying, and I've seen actually some YouTubers talk about it. Say, oh my God, yeah, well, this is the Harry we loved. I heard it this morning and yesterday, and I'm like, really? And they're saying, oh, you know, and sure, you know, this is what we miss and blah blah blah. Do you think that that could be a possibility?
Are you
Hello,
asking
Who's
me?
both
who
of you.
you?
Well,
Go ahead,
I'm on
man.
the live with.
I feel like I don't. The thing that annoys me the most is that these British reporters and these Royal Rota reporters and the whole the whole angle that they're pushing right now about, oh, Harry's got his spark back and what he's like when he used to be before Meghan came into the picture. But the thing is that Harry that we knew was fake. That Harry that we always saw as the happy-go-lucky Harry was nothing but a palace manufactured persona. The Harry that we see who is always angry, who first reaction to being scared is to throw a punch, that's the Harry that is the real Harry. And I feel like once you've shown yourself to be a snake, like, why are you opening your arms to welcome this person back into the family? I feel like the UK reporters and media outlets just like the drama. So they're stirring the pot by saying, oh, the UK public wants Harry to come back and join the royal fold. They don't. When you ask the UK people, they don't want Harry back. They want nothing to do with him. But I feel like it's just a way to get the clicks that they need and to sell the stories and just to get people pissed off a bit. I don't know. That's what I think.
I would like to remind everybody before we go that if you're in the Los Angeles area and you have no plans on October 4th, that you should visit Chevalier's Books, where Ashley Spencer will be discussing her new book, Disney High, in conversation with Omid Scobie. So make sure that you get your Chevalier Books. It's at 6 p.m. And make sure to ask Omid your questions.
Which date is it? Which date is it?
October 4th.
Ooh. So you mean that we could have a chance to be in the presence of real royal reporters and we can ask questions?
Yes. I mean, he's going to be trying to talk about Disney High, a book, a book by Ashley Spencer, which, by the way, seems like a pretty good book. But yeah, so yeah, Omid is going to be there with her, 6 p.m. Chevalier Books, Los Angeles.
Well,
6 p.m.
Yeah,
Go.
I'll be there with my moon bump and my wig on.
And drop it to the floor, Molly. Just
I'll be squatting in my heels. Don't worry. Omid better have his eyes open for me.
so he will get back those memories of watching Meghan drop that moon bump. And one quick question: are Harry and Meghan living together? Is it true he has a lease on another place?
Yeah, I mean, he did lease another place. So I don't know. But here's the thing: is that he has before lived at the hotel that's pretty close to them. So I think that this is not, I don't know, a lease is different than staying at a hotel or whatever, but maybe to him it's the same kind of thing. It's not like some mansion or something like that. It's a small little kind of like, I guess I would call it a bungalow. So yeah, who knows, is he leasing it for employees? Is he leasing it for himself? I don't know that. I just know that there's a lease.
You mean he's leasing something like Frogmore Cottage, the one that they criticized so much?
Yes, something like that.
Well, thanks to my two beautiful people here, MeghansMole and Enty, as usual. Well, Molly basically runs this channel by now. And Enty, thanks so very much for giving us your time. Please go check his X account and his Patreon and YouTube. We've been posting and showing his links because I am glued. I saw your one about Diddy and J-Lo. I mean, you have 50 minutes and I so love it. You're posting more on YouTube. That is so awesome. And I can't wait. Where are you going to drop the at 11:45? Is it going to be on your website or on
Crazy Days and Nights, crazydaysandnights.net. So 11:45.
What time is it? Yeah. 11:45. I'll check.
45
minutes.
Please,
in 45 minutes, I'm going to be there like white on rice for sure. I don't know if that's racist to say, but hell. Anyways, thank you so very much for joining us, guys, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.